Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I thought I would sit down and do a video for you guys. Sip my water, my beautiful radio voice going. You guys a forearm shot? Alright, let's talk a little bit about the deadlift. I always have people ask me, Jason, is the deadlift a lower body exercise or is it a back exercise? And it's a good question. And some people don't want to hear this, but factually and biomechanically speaking, it is a lower body exercise. Okay, let's be honest here. We know the glutes and the hamstrings are the primary movers on a deadlift. It's a hip hinge. And for the record, I am talking about the conventional deadlift. I am not talking about a goofball trap bar. I'm not talking about sumo. Like my friend CJ, the deadlift dad, says, get out of here with that bitch made shit. All right. That includes you guys who do straps and multiply suits and try to talk smack about me. Shut up, dude. You probably can't even deadlift 600 pounds. I do 605 for 10 reps. Touch and go, bounce and go in the multiply suit and figure 8 straps. All right, let's see you deadlift 600 raw with no belt or straps or anything. Let's see it. But that guy can't do it. All right, that aside though, let's talk about it. So we're talking about the conventional deadlift when performed raw. Because let's include as many muscles as we can. Hell, let's even take straps off. Let's do grip. What's really doing the weight? It's your glutes and your hamstrings are doing most of the work. Okay, they're doing most of the work. They're doing the heavy lifting. Everything else is either just helping with part of the movement or is a stabilizer. Everything else is a stabilizer. Now, we could talk about quads, which are the largest muscle in the body. Do they contribute to the deadlift? Yes, a little bit. They help you break it off the floor. A little more involved than sumo. But once you get the weight moving, they're not really active. They're, again, almost a stabilizer at that point. People say, well, what about the back? Well, unless you have a compensation issue going on with compensatory strength, your back is not contributing to the movement in terms that much of force production. In fact, it does less than the quads. Even though we don't think of the deadlift as a quad exercise, because the quads are about the third most important muscle, they're really not doing the real heavy lifting. They still are moving more of the weight than your back is. Okay? I want to be clear on that. That on a normal conventional deadlift, as far as the weight being moved, unless you are rounding the low back and then locking it at the top, and even then it's still contributing less than the quads. The quads still produce more of the force than your back does. And again, that back is only then doing it at the top, and the quads are only doing it at the bottom. But their contribution to the weight moved, the quads are still contributing more. Right? But the glutes and the hamstrings are doing the brunt of the work. They're the real muscles working. Okay? It's a lower body exercise. So what role does the rest of the back play? Well, the erectors can play some role in moving the weight if you need to compensate. That compensation is either because you start rounded to make up for weak hamstrings, right? You start rounded to make up for weak hamstrings. It's a form of compensatory strength. Or it starts breaking down on the way up and then your back has to get more involved after you break it off the floor. That's actually dangerous. That's where the risks happen. People who start the pull with the back already rounded, the data says it's not actually dangerous. Okay? I want to state that again. The scientific data looking at it and the physical therapy data looking at it say that it's not actually risky for your low back to pull with a rounded back as long as you start rounded. It doesn't round during the middle of the lift. Now, it rounds during the middle of the lift, you got a weak back and you got a problem. But all of that aside, the contribution is minimal. And we'll say, well, what about the lat traps? They're just stabilizers. They help you maintain a proper bar path. Now, is it possible that they get some activation and grow from it? Yeah, absolutely. I personally think they do grow a bit from deadlifting, just my anecdotal experience. But you have to keep in mind when you look at what's going on in the body, they are not really moving dynamically. And isometrics have never been the best way to build muscle. They're just not. The muscles that are moving really dynamically are the glutes and the hamstrings. Those are the ones that are going to get the majority of the training stimulus or doing the majority of the work. All right, that is not subject to debate. Biomechanically, that's not subject to debate. Quads are still getting some, and as to whether the quads will grow from it or not would really depend upon a lot of factors, right? How much it's contributing to your overall stimulus, how big they already are. There's factors. They might grow. I think lats and stuff grow a little bit purely due to the isometric loading, but they will never grow as much from a deadlift as they will from a pull-up. And we just have to be clear there. We have to be clear on that point. All these back muscles that are involved, yes, they will get some stimulus, but they will get more stimulus from direct work. I feel like personally, as far as hypertrophy goes for your back, deadlift is just icing on the cake. Now, can there be exceptions for things like a Romanian deadlift for the lower back? Probably, right? I would be okay with that. I would say, okay, yeah, in that case, yes. Conventional deadlift, I don't think is much so. I don't think the low back is really as involved with normal textbook form in terms of a hypertrophic stimulus. We've already discussed weight moved. I think the weight moved, the rest of the back has zero contribution. I think you can get some growth stimulus, again, based on my observations. I mean, people like to bring up that EMG stuff that Contreras did, but EMGs are not always correlated with muscle growth. It's just not been the case. There's obviously some isometric stimulus there, actually quite a bit. But when it comes down to what is the back doing, the back gives you a more efficient bar path. In other words, if people have a certain amount of lower body strength and development, the weight that they can move, whether it's a max or for their rep work, the upper body contributes in the ability to use it more efficiently. It will let you maintain a cleaner, more perfect bar path. Okay? And by allowing you a more efficient bar path, it will let you lift more weight with the same amount of force production on your lower body. I think it also makes it a lower risk exercise. So if all those stabilizers are strong through your back, you are far less likely to get hurt because, again, you're going to be able to maintain a more stable bar path and bar position and body position. All right, now that is worth something. But in terms of the actual work done, if we're going to talk about actual work done and the largest training stimulus, it is by far a lower body exercise. It is very lower body dominant. And again, I'm not saying the upper body isn't involved, but it's to a lesser extent than people give credit to it for. At the end of the day, it really and truly is a posterior chain exercise. It really is. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative. And I'll talk to you guys next time.